Hello, and welcome. Good afternoon, and welcome to what is being referred to as the keynote of the 2016 Cannes Film Festival. Today, we have the opportunity of hearing from CEO and founder of Flix Premiere, as well as the man behind the future of online cinema, and the man behind the company that has attracted so much attention and awareness over the past 12 months. On today's schedule, of course, 60-minute keynote and presentation, followed by a 2-hour reception, including entertainment, drinks, and of course, mingling with the Flix Premiere team. The only thing we ask today, of course, no questions or comments during the keynote because of the strict timetable and schedule we must adhere to. However, you can get some personal time with the founder and the CEO, as well as the Flix Premiere team. And now, let me please introduce you today our interviewer, Chief International Correspondent of Variety Magazine, Mr. John Hopewell. Yes. And of course, the man we've all been waiting to hear from, the CEO, the founder, the man who's created the world's first true online Cineplex, Martin Warner.
Thank you. Right. Well, let's get into this pretty well immediately. I think my name is John Hopewell. However, if you want a name to succeed in cinema, it's far better to be called Warner, I think. This is the newest Warner, Martin Warner, and I'll be asking questions for the rest of this hour. Martin, my first question is whether you could describe, and I'm sure you can, the media landscape at the moment and how Flix Premiere would fit into that.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for coming. We're thrilled with the interest in our company at the moment, and hopefully we can give you a little more insight during this session. So we think about the landscape. There's a couple of ways of looking at it. First of all, if we think contextually about the way people consume movies today, if you think on the right-hand side, we've got movie theaters, the physical theaters, and then on the left-hand side, we've got kind of everything else that seems to be shifting towards the internet, which we might call VOD, okay? So things like Netflix and Amazon. On the movie theater side, it's because of the finite supply, a bit like CDs in record stores. You couldn't get a record contract because there wasn't enough place to put the CDs, so no one wanted to distribute them. The problem with movie theaters is it's not that there's a dumbing down process of movies, there's just not enough room for prime time slots. So it's a booking schedule of 2 years, and that tends to be large studio-led cinema or the 15 or so blockbusters that come out every year. So net, for most of you in the room, that means most movies are not going to get seen. So then on the other side of VOD, so Netflix and people, this is fantastic, right? Because they took the old Blockbuster Video, for those that are at least in the UK or US, right? Or Ladron in France, and a bunch of others that were doing VHS to DVD to stuff that's online. They allowed a lot of other movies to get seen. But over time, as these companies grew big, so I'm thinking of the Lions, I'm thinking of the Netflix and Amazons, they've become studios. So they're, again, focused on original programming, large budget acquisition, and also in trying to achieve the stickiness of the users, they're focusing a lot on the renaissance of TV. So a lot of TV drama coming up, a lot of original programming. So the problem there is that somewhere in the middle, there's still thousands of movies that never get seen. And so they come to the festivals and they get placement, but for the most part, they don't have any marketing, so they don't get seen. So Flix Premiere decided to do the best of both worlds. It's new movie premieres anytime, anywhere. So it's got the benefits and possibilities of the internet, but it's delivered through a theatrical format. So everything you see on the movie theater is the way that we will think about the marketing and ultimately what we call reverse distribution of that movie. So every movie on our platform for a given territory will never have been seen, so it's exclusive for at least the first 12 months. It will be pre-announced through social media and digital internet, and some through our branding. There'll be the announcement of the movie through a press release. Then we do our own kind of red carpets. We build a lot of buzz and excitement around the movie. I call it in one of the TV articles, we called it the Andy Warhol moment of fame, so that every movie reaches that arc or that pinnacle of its expression. And then from the red carpet, it goes on general release 3 or 4 weeks later, or what, online or in the movie theaters we'd call now showing. And then after it's, depending on where it performs and on now showing, we'll then run features of it throughout the months. So what we've built is a conveyor belt to curate marketing for that movie. And here's the thing, inevitably, even though there's a careful selection of movies, and we'll release 8 to 10 every 10 days or so, depending on the schedule and depending on the choice or the genre choice that we can offer consumers, the fact is that we use all of it, we try to recapture the excitement of going to the theater, but with the opportunity to say that, look, if you don't see it one day, you can see it another day. Or if you were reminded about a film premiere, you could watch it 24 hours later. And here's the thing, once it goes off general release, we still have our library, which is, again, a little like what VOD is. You'll still be able to access these movies. So we're right in the middle.
If we could just stay with the big picture, I think there are something like 2,000-3,000 VOD sites just in Europe. A lot of them have launched since, I think, the first was 1994. What conditions are there in the market now which mean that you think that Flix Premiere can be successful? What's changed?
That's a good question. So there's a couple of things that I'd put out there, and then there's a couple of things that I think are enablers. So first one is that, I know any of you walking around the Marsh Film this year, you would have noticed that there's more indecision, there's slightly less people, there's a lack of decisiveness on what to do with their movies. And that's because we're caught in a macro phase or transition of movies that are going online, and there's a different economic model. And the traditional idea of a standard licensing agreement with an MG or a minimum guarantee up front is changing, and it's diluting. So what that means is there's room for a new economic unit and a new way to partner or engage with filmmakers. And that's not so much about just putting content online and creating another thing called VOD. It's about creating a new economic unit and a new delivery model and a new way to work with filmmakers so that consumers can see
You've
movies.
used the word model. Maybe could you describe your business model? Because
Sure,
I think...
sure. That's exactly what I want to do.
Sorry.
Right. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm going. So again, another way the press talk about us is the cinema meets the distributor. So we're an exhibitor, just like AMC in America, Gaumont in France, Odeon in the UK, and for sure, Netflix and Amazon on the internet. But we're also the distributor. Every movie that comes onto our platform, the play that we make with the way that we sell to producers, agents, or distributors is that we are going to live and die selling those movies. If we don't sell them, we don't make money, the platform doesn't exist. So we have what we call this online P&A model that uses tens of millions of emails that we have, a lot of what we call customer sentiment analysis, and a lot of, we can talk, that's a question, John, for later on, where we can get a little more into the market. We do a ton of pretty interesting and certainly new to the film business marketing in order to act as the distributor for the movie maker or the broader film rights owners or owner. So we are a distributor, we bring the eyeballs to our platform, and we're the exhibitor. In terms of what we offer filmmakers or broader film rights owners, it's a real partnership. So instead of worrying about small MG fees and then being, I was going to choose a crude word there, let's just say ripped off for the rest of the licensing agreement, what we do is we say up front that we use this thing called an EIG, an exclusive indicative guarantee. And what we do is we sign movies for 12 months, normally with a 6-year non-exclusive period, which we really want exclusive. And we go through our pre-sale model. We figure out for a territory how much revenue we can make for that movie, and it's a straight monthly settlement, 50-50, and completely audited with the partner. And that's from what I've seen for years in the business, that's a refreshing new model.
When you say 50-50, are there any costs off the top?
Only in certain markets, so only net of taxes. So we share that, we take the tax out and it's just 50-50.
What kind of tax is
in
that?
the UK, VAT.
Yeah.
would be an example.
And the equivalent in other territories as well.
Yeah, depending on the entity relationship. Yeah. So in France, there's none at the moment for us because we're trading through the UK. So as we release the entities, there could be tax.
Right. And who's backing you, or are you backing yourself? Or
It's privately funded with a few investors that have been with me on previous journey.
can you talk at all about how much money your investors are putting up at the moment?
Yeah. So we started out this business with a few million, and we're going to need a lot more. We don't worry, I guess, because we're fortunate. You know, the people that are behind it, and certainly me, we're willing to invest more as we go through the different stages of this business. We're I guess the American term is we'd call it an extended Series A. So right now we're attracting another round of funding so that we can essentially build out the team and acquire more catalog.
And your investors are from the UK? What kind of, how would you
Actually, I'm from
characterize
the UK.
them?
I live 50-50, but I'm from the UK. They're actually American.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But they're in the banking sector, or?
Yeah, actually they are. They're in the financial services market.
And how much money?
And advertising.
How much money
Kind
do
of.
you? How much money do you think you'll have to raise in
Well,
your first year of operations, for example?
I think because we had a lot of assets that we can use in this business, particularly around our marketing technologies, we're fortunate. We expect customer conversion early in the first year. We said on TV we expect between 2 to 2.7 million accounts. We'll spend a few more million at least getting to that point. But once we get to that kind of conversion, to give you some context, Netflix, was it 2.5 years, or just over 2.5 years, IPO'd at 600,000 accounts. It's a big deal to have 500,000 plus accounts in this business. So for us to come out and feel confident about that kind of forecast, that's going to take care of a lot of the capital considerations down the road. But we're certainly going to spend a few more million.
And in terms of, I believe you've been up at Ducap, meeting quite a lot of film companies. What do you say to a film company to persuade them to go with you rather than down the traditional theatrical road, or, for example, with a Netflix deal or Amazon for the US?
Well, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to give 3 different perspectives to that. So I have this analogy that if you get your movie in the warehouse and it doesn't make the retail shelf, what's the point? Right? It's like food going off, right? It's just going to die. So if you go to Amazon or Netflix and they've not decided to put it in the carousel, then your movie's dead. So a lot of the movies where we ran the analytics and we found that after a year, we picked up a movie a little while back, 2015, tried on Amazon, and they just hadn't made any money, and so they decided to sell to us. I think that's going to change. I think Amazon's going to change. Everyone's evolving. Netflix models continuing to change. But what the film rights owners have to figure out is just what's the recoup model, what's the transparency around that model, and what's their expectation on return, right? But I think there are some interesting. There's some alleys you can walk down that won't necessarily provide that return.
Okay. You've mentioned, I think, 2 or 3 times the word marketing. Anybody who has been at the festival today, I think, might have seen a trade publication whose name I can't mention because it's a rival to ours. But you do see the big face.
We were on your magazine as well.
But only once, I mean. And there is a big photo of Martin on the cover of that magazine. I believe that when we're talking about how you're different, for example, you're film only. I believe you're not going to go into TV. You're placing a huge emphasis on exclusivity. You've been called the Netflix of forgotten films, or not very well-known films. I think one of the keys, it seems to me, I sense, is your marketing. And you talk about an online print and advertising model. What is this? Can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah, sure. So This definitely is a USP or a unique selling point for us. When we talk to film rights owners, we're saying, look, if you want to avoid the warehouse and you want someone that's really going to be passionate about your movie and we're going to market it, then give us a chance and we'll show you how we're going to do that digitally. I think the P&A model or print and advertising model for the film business, and there's no blame here, but I think it just hasn't evolved. It's an arcane model. It's a billboard model. It's standard advertising. As much as we want to say that it's segmented, it's done through, say, like, I think my magazine readership is X, so let's do an advert there. Let's put it on the bus because we think that this route's going to have people between 25 and 45. It's not specifically, it's not targeted enough, and there's not enough science around it. And by the way, that's the reason why some of the real big blockbusters just bomb. They could be good or bad movies, but a lot of the time it's the way they deploy the P&A. So we decided that, you probably noticed that we're going to spend significantly on PR and advertising at a brand level. But before we started this business, we needed to figure out how we were going to market movies. So we think of movies as movies that we can drive sentiment and figure out just what makes them unique, what's essential, how will people relate directly to them. And then we will go and search the social networks. There's obviously 4 big ones. There's 9 overall that we look at. And we will take the sentiment from that movie. And an example could be, let's take a movie that I see Turnkey Films are in the room. We did a deal with them, just maybe a good time to talk about it. It was on the wire today. We signed Oscar winner Monique in a movie called Interwoven. It's new, brand new, never been around. We were lucky fortunate, it slipped through the hands of some of the bigger competitors.
Could I ask who was selling it?
It was sold through Turnkey Films.
Turnkey.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously
okay.
And it was an interesting. I'll talk a little bit about this, and we'll talk about the sentiment for marketing. But just as a brief sidebar, this is interesting because we talk about movies that are brought from distributors. Sometimes they're slate deals. Sometimes they're from sales agents. Most of the time, and occasionally they're in the producer's hands. And this one was in the producer's hands, and it was a try-love relationship. So we were talking to the sales agent that we had already done business with, but we were also talking to the producers, including Monique's management. And we'd been at it, I don't know, Corey, 4 months, right, trying to get this movie. And eventually we got through to them. And as the way we did that was we said, look, when we think about marketing, I think we really think about it differently to the way other movies are being marketed anywhere in the world. So a lot of the people in my team, and the way we've made money in the past is we're product marketers and we use technometrics. So we really think about the internet, and then the skin is the industry layer on top. So in that movie, it's called Interwoven. It's a little bit like the movie Crash that won the Oscar. It's 15 kind of dramatic stories in a multi-diverse cast, where they kind of all interweave together, and it really kind of studies the human condition. So we put all words like that whether it be relationship drama, breakup, violence, things that kind of typify. If we see a number of hits around these keywords, or what we might call meta tags, we then search on the internet. We also put talent out there. So we'll put Monique, we'll put the cast, we'll put the name of the movie. And then we have crawlers that search that data. And in that example, Corey knows, we found 38 million people that related to the key terms in that movie. That's a pretty targeted audience, because our marketing and our email is going to play on those key terms. So then we grab those people and then we market directly to them. So the sentiment analysis, or our analyzer, is to get as close to diagnosing or taking, let's just call it, key terms of the synopsis, and then using them as almost like search strings to go and look at the internet. The other thing we do is we're in data acquisition. So we buy data all the time, consumer data. And for the UK, US is over 55 million. And then we're cleansing that and slicing and dicing that. That for us is a mathematics game. It's just going to grow and grow and grow. And of that, we're then going to, as we develop behavior habits, back on the platform, we're then going to be able to learn about whether the sentiment matches their taste. So,
I just have two questions because I believe that the film started its festival run at the Mill Valley Film Festival in 2015.
Right.
So it's not a film. You do take films which have been seen at least at festivals.
That's a really, really good question. Yeah, so we take movies that are current developments and we go back about 3 years, okay? A lot of the movies we pick, we'll do limited theatrical runs and we'll pick them up straight after. And then we have to, because we don't want to compete with Netflix when we're saying that we're an exclusive cinema, we lock out everything right at that point. A lot of the movies, festivals is, what people have to understand is, that's pre-consumer, right? When they play at festivals, pretty much no one's seeing them. They get wings, and then we try and market those wings, but the fact is the consumer's not seeing it. So a lot of the movies, you'll see the stamp of different wings at the festivals on them, and we like that. We want that branding. So certainly, the other thing to keep in mind, the reason we go back 3 years is it is a crying shame, right, that something like 3,500 movies in the UK and US get made, and tens of thousands around the world every year, and 95% don't recoup their investment or find their audience. That's a shocking statistic.
And
that's why we go back. So if I see at Amazon and they say we've done no revenue and our analytics or what we call our accreditation process show us that, then we'll acquire it and release it, re-release it.
So somebody in this room could sell a film to Amazon or Netflix, and if it doesn't do anything, maybe you would come in and pick it.
Sure. We've got to be able to take it out. And by the way, this is not a message to compete directly or to say we're going after their catalogs. Far from it. If they pick a movie and it does well on their platform, the film rights owner gets paid, that's a great thing for the business. That means more movies are going to get made. I believe we come in between and we push a genuine third choice for the consumer. But if movies don't make the cut for whatever reason, or they're just not marketed well, then sure, we'd love to have a shot. We'd love to know why. We'll do our analysis. We should talk about the screening and accreditation process because we have a thorough process to figure out whether we're going to acquire a movie. But we're happy to do that.
Could I just ask, at least in the traditional media, producer may be on a film starring an Oscar-nominated actress. Internationally, they will be looking at least for something from maybe 200,000-300,000 up to 1 million, 2 million maybe from international or more. How much, because you're just starting up as a service, how much do you think you can offer to the producer?
Well, I can tell you, having priced movies and bought movies for many years, the problem with the industry today, and it's a model that's utterly flawed. There's a crack that big, right, and it's getting bigger. That it's a model built for the few, not the many. So we have to come in and explain to people that if you really believe that we're going to, first of all, live to our word and do the PR, do the marketing, grab the customers and build an audience fast, if we hit our milestones, then hopefully you can also believe that we're going to build you a better revenue share and give you a better return than the MG you're going to get up front. Now, in catalog deals and structured products that we do, we do pay. We have to pay. Those tend to be transaction costs. They're not MGs. We don't do MGs at all. We live and die by this EIG because if we hit the EIG, which is the 50% that the film rights owner gets, after the 12 months, the option agreement is to lock in the 6 years that are non-exclusive back to exclusive. We're saying, hey, we've hit your target. You're probably real happy. We want to market it further. So that's our incentive. And if we don't, as a startup, as an entrepreneur, we can't hold our valuation. So we are immensely incented to market those movies. So really, where we spend our time is convincing people about our intent to deliver on our model. Yeah.
So in other words, your answer might be that if the film works, you would be looking at returns over beyond these 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, so there's so it's monthly payments, But we look at a 12-year return. We don't half it or do anything. So we give them a curve of what we think, and some of the movies are 7 figures, and that's great. If we think, again, it's driven on how we can access our audience. But our audience, because it's the internet, it's big. I mean, it's tens of millions. It's just that people I don't think have tapped the way you can target that audience and continually market to them.
And where did you meet the producer of the film?
Well, we have a business development team, and it came through the business development. We should perhaps quickly. A lot of people say, well, we're small, we're growing fast, but the reality is that we get a lot of demand, which is good, by the way, because it's taken us a year. We did a party a year ago to talk to the industry, and it's taken us the best part of 6 to 9 months in that year to start signing a lot of contracts. And now we're pretty much at that watershed moment. But the 3 ways you can engage with us is we have a business development team that do 2 things. Their job is to be the node network between producers, agents, and distributors. And they know a lot of people. It's an incestuous kind of market. And they're talking every day, and they're building pipeline for us, and they go through the process. And they also go to boutique festivals where we're looking for hidden gems, hence the word came up in the articles. And by the way, Netflix have got hidden gems now. And then on the larger film festival side, like the Cannes, Toronto, AFM, you would have seen that we're doing some heavy play sponsorship and continuing the brand. So our business development team work with the community, and they work within the 2 sizes of the film festival. On the other side, because of the branding, we're now getting a lot of inbound opportunities. And the big question is, as people are saying, why don't we acquire catalog and library? And so our structured products, we will do library deals as well to induce further stock.
Are you actively discussing those library deals at the moment, or?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And where is your business team based out of? Because at the moment, I believe you've soft launched in the UK, and the US is your other first market.
Well, we have people on the ground in the US, France, and UK at the moment with plans to expand to Germany and Spain. That's business development. And I'm split for the most of my time between the UK and US.
And you're acquiring also product for France as well?
Yeah, so we, in early June, we're soft trialed in the UK right now to do all of our testing, what we call post-live testing. We're obviously live on iOS and Android for iPad, iPhone, tablet, all the web. So you can stream to the TV and everything. So UK, US in early June. We hope to follow. We haven't got the date yet for France. But we're acquiring movies in up to 15 territories that we believe we can get to in just about 12 to 15 months.
Could you characterize what those territories? Territories?
I could talk about some of the more notable ones for now. Certainly France. We've got Germany. We've got Spain. We've got Austria of all places because of the relationship with Germany. We've got Canada, and we've got South Africa and Australia. Right. We also throw another one in there because it's caught a lot of attention recently. We've got Russia in there.
So if you were to buy, there will be certain territories which you wouldn't be buying for, such as of the major ones.
Well,
Japan.
we're not buying Fiji right now.
You sure?
No.
Not yet.
No. No plans. No.
And also, for example, Patagonia, you wouldn't be buying, or the rest of Latin America at the moment.
Well, it'd be Chile. It'd be the whole of Chile. But
so
no chance. I mean, there's some markets we don't think that we can. We don't see how we can get our tentacles around it. So, for instance, India, it was a problem in my last business, and we did some trade there. I find that really difficult. I think there is some real large or some notable library deals being done around Hong Kong and the Chinese market right now. There's just like VR is getting a lot of press, China's getting a lot of press. But remember, there's a big slowdown going on. I don't see the 15 to 20% of consumers that can buy movies in China as being a market that we can really make a dent in. So we decided to postpone India and China, and there's a few others out there.
And at what stage of a film do you pick up, or would you be interested in acquiring a film?
Yeah, it's a good question. So in the short term right now, we look at packaged product. So product that's gone past its cut, They're ready to essentially put the bow on it and give it to an agent or get representation. For us, it will come with, when we pick up the materials, it'll come with the cast and production individuals, it'll come with its EPA or electronic press kit. So gallery stills, the ProRes screener and trailer and all that good stuff, any alternate stuff. That's what we do now. But as we're moving so fast, we're getting into discussions of movies that are actually pre-final cut. And hello? No, it's coming back. Don't worry, I'm going to shout if this cuts out permanently. And so what's happening is we will, it's inevitable right now, we're going to do what Harvey and other people are doing right now, and that's get in earlier at the festival where there's still cutting room to be done.
Right. And in terms of what kind of films, for example, I believe that Interwoven, starring Monique, is a film, it's a 13-part film about people looking for connections in life, people struggling against homelessness, despair, etc.
This is our meta tags.
Right. I mean, is that typical of? Could you mention another movie, for example, which you're very, very passionate about? Because I think if you succeed, it will be through passion.
Sure. Well, also, so I just got done with a conversation with another guy that's dipped his hand in for the last 25 years, picking up really good movies and a lot along the Crozet. And he said, Martin, he said, you know, the brand's amazing and what you're doing is great. He goes, but you got to make a statement with film. Everything's about the films that you put out there. And keep in mind, we're a movie theatre for the mainstream. So they have to be high on the theatrical curve and high on the mainstream curve. I guess the other way around for you lot, but this way, right? Which means we want to be in this quadrant where we score high. So we have to be cross-genre, a movie that's maybe a little acute, but I really like it as a song. It's a movie called Elephant Song with Bruce Greenwood, who's in The People vs. O.J. Simpson and many other movies. And Xavier Dolan, who's in competition for the Canada entry this year, directing. Interesting movie about a psychiatrist and a guy that is trying to figure out what has he really done in his life. And that's a great character movie. It's an incredible character study. It has a lyrical plot and it draws you in further and further. I like lyrical stories. So this one resonates with me. That's actually soft trialing at the moment in the UK. But I would point out to you that mainstream consumers have got to get every genre. So we have to buy with a broader palette and not just my own palette.
So if anybody wanted to see what your tastes are, they could go, even now, in this room, they could go onto the internet and look at the selection of movies you have.
Oh my God, yeah. Even where we're not launched in market, we have product marketing sites. You can see probably, the title art for 100 movies. I mean, there's plenty of movies to see what we're about and what type. Can I, at this point, as I talk about content and genre, I think it is the wrong way to think about a movie when you say, how much was it made for? Now, we've got movies at 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, they're all different prices. We don't have 100 million movies, okay? We're not in the blockbuster stage. I don't know if that will happen, we're not there. But what I'd say to you is, if you're thinking about who's in it, who directed it, who was it made by as a company, or how much it was made for, I don't think that tells you whether it's a great movie. Therefore, the words independent and blockbuster, that taxonomy in the new era, as we move to everything on the internet, isn't going to look at that. They're going to look at things like a storied picture, character study, or character development. They're going to look at resonance, relevance. Is it impactful? Those are the things that are going to define whether you see a good movie. That's why, I don't know, Clark, do we have T-shirts here? I don't know where he is. I think we have T-shirts here. I'm wearing one. I want you all to take it, because I just think that we did this campaign called Democratize Cinema, where we said, please, 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 if you want to see great movies, try not to get caught up in the existing model, because that's fantastic, and it's great if you love Batman, and I do, but it's only for the few. You're going to miss out on the many movies.
If you could talk, Martin, a bit about why did you like Elephant Song, where Xavier Dolan is not directing, he's acting.
Right.
And how you will market it, because I think this is one of the keys. And then we could come back to the red carpet, which you described briefly, but I think it's interesting
Yeah.
and an integral part of your marketing.
Yeah. So, in that particular movie, what drives me personally, and keep in mind, I think that everyone that watches movies finds something different. So before I mention it, I'd say to you that when we screen a movie, we have 95 screeners at the moment. All they do is watch movies. A minimum of 12 have to watch a movie, and they have to score it at a minimum of 35 points out of 50 before we acquire. And then we go through a rigid accreditation exercise, because we can't go and buy a theatre in Westwood and see whether people cry about a movie. But what I'd say to you is that means if John watches a movie, I watch a movie, we may most disagree. I caveat that because this movie is special to me. It may not be special to you. For me, I like slow-moving stories, and I like few characters because I want to look through the lens at what's really motivating that character. I want to, as they're talking, think what's happening behind that character. In this, it's a very lyrical story where you've got this protagonist and defendant who's trying to make the case for what's going on in his life, with a psychiatrist that's bemused by the relationship and also by the impact of what he did. I'm not going to give it away in case you see it, because I think that will kill the movie for you. So I was obsessed with these two people, and I like movies that slowly draw you in. Another one would be, say, Usual Suspects, which I'm sure most of you people would have seen, with a great twist. So that's what I liked about it. The way we would sell that movie, we did some analysis on it, and we looked at movies that people that liked psychology, that liked psychiatry, that looked at unearthing deep tragedies or troubled minds. We came up, I want to say for that movie, there was about 30 odd terms that we created as the meta tags. And then we looked at what we call age demographic distribution to look at just where those people were sitting. And we came up with what we call a fair number. And just so you know, that movie wasn't particularly high. It was about 18 million people, or a fraction over, of people that we can immediately talk to about the relevance of that movie to them. And that's why we decided to sign it.
Right. And getting back to, because another part of your marketing, I think, your film only, you want to have almost total exclusivity outside festivals. Mm-hmm. Also, you're not going to be highlighting on your site many movies. If you could talk about this.
Thank you. Yeah, so part of being a movie theatre, when you buy a ticket, we're not subscription, or we have this analogy that you eat what you consume. If you like what the movie you watch, you can just come and watch another one. If we run a box office just like the multiplex, if we're an online cineplex, what that means is that if you're going to give every movie their Warhol moment of fame, you have to take them on the cinematic or theatrical release journey, or conveyor belt as we call it. And so we release we think at the moment every 10 days, between 8 to 10 movies that will be now showing, okay? We'll have coming soon, and we'll have movies that were in the library which you can also access.
Sorry, the now showing is your horizontal carousel, is that correct?
Yeah, and it's a square. There they go. You can see them depending on what format, both horizontally and vertically. But they're big. The big title art. The thing is, just like if you were to go to Odeon or AMC, you would see that 8 to 10 movies, and we'd spend a lot of time curating and talking about those movies and marketing what's happening, and they would all be coming off of their film premiere 3 to 4 weeks before, and their announcement before that.
How long is the film premiere? Because that offers one limited chance, I think, to people, if you could talk. So
our red carpet experience, we're really kind of excited about this because I had something years ago in another startup that was called Webstore. Amazon picked up the same thing. Facebook came up with Facebook page, and we're all looking at the same thing. We witness screen prison, right? We spend our time looking at the screen, and so we have to create dynamic experiences. So we don't have the ability to walk down a red carpet. So we call it red carpet in as much that we'll do a lot of marketing up front, and it's our only time and date window to watch a movie. So let's just say, June 24th from 7 o'clock, you'll be able to watch this premiere for 5 hours. You'll be able to click on it for 5 hours. And in that, we will release a lot more content. You'll get the build-up of the content through digital internet, through our brand, and also through social media. But the interesting thing is, you'll also be able to then, once it's released, engage in alternate cuts, outtakes, cast and production interviews, and all that good stuff. If you sign up to it, and we call it Remind Me, then let's say you go out for dinner and you happen to miss the 5-hour window, we give you another 24 hours to watch it. But it's important that then the red carpet gets rolled up, and you have to wait 3 or 4 weeks to see it come out on general release.
And in terms, both Interwoven and Elephant Song are English language. For your service, for example, in the UK, will you be acquiring foreign language or?
It's another good question. We think a lot about this. So some markets are incredibly culturally rich. So some movies just don't travel. They don't travel well. For someone that's trying to democratize and just wants really good movies to be seen, like I want to be able to view life through the lens or to look at the human condition. I want to be able to laugh through movies. I want to be able to just enjoy life. And I want to look at myself through these movies, right? I want to understand my life through movies. So I want to preclude people from getting onto platforms. But I'm not going to lie to you that there are certain movies that when we go through our accreditation process, they're just not going to travel to one market. So we have got subtitled movies. In the US, we have to have closed caption. Some great Spanish movies will travel to cross markets to the US and say to the UK, indeed to even France. But they're limited. It's a smaller market of foreign movies. When we go to France, we're generally looking at French-speaking movies that are going to play in France.
So, for example, in France, you might acquire for France, but not outside France.
Yeah, so France is just to give some examples. Italian movies can play well there. High-branded US movies can play there. Occasionally, UK movies can play there. And every market has its own dynamics and what we call trade rules. And any good agent knows some of those rules. We kind of have to follow them. So we've signed a bunch of subtitle movies and movies that will play in other markets. So we have French, we have Spanish movies that are going to play in the US.
And in terms of your English language movies, are you normally acquiring for more than the US and UK? In other words, for France as well? Or?
We try to. I mean, so what we say to film rights owners, be it an agent, distributor, or producer, is we say, look, here's the markets that we really want to be in. So we're not going to take Fiji, but we love your movie. We accredited it well. We want it for all these markets. If we get more markets, we're likely to attract a larger EIG. So our financial assessment, our forecast is going to go up. So luckily for us, that if they've bought into our model and want to come on board, we're likely to get other markets as well. So Interwoven, we acquired 7 markets. We're really happy about that.
All your 7 markets, which will be your initial markets, as it were.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we got fortunate. Yeah.
And Elephant Song?
I don't remember. There's 4 markets. Not as many. Not as many as I'd want.
Right. And obviously, well, Cannes is winding down. We've got about 5 more minutes. Where will you go from here in terms of launches? Also in terms of your expectation of buys, because you're not SV. If you could talk slightly about pricing as well, because I think that's important. You're not SVOD or transactional, I believe.
Yeah.
And how many transactions, as you build up from your soft launch, do you think you'll have?
It's a good question. When you said, well, I'm going to be, all I thought about was bed. I'm so tired. I wasn't going to say it, but I couldn't stop smiling. I'm exhausted. But I think after Cannes, I think I've got another 5 days here. We're going to launch in the UK and US, in June. In earnest, middle of June, we'll kick off our forecast. We're going to get ready for other festivals. So we've got Venice, we've got Toronto, and we'll take us right the way around. We'll be at every big festival from Sundance, Berlinale, and back here again. During that period, we've got, pretty much, I mean, we're touch wood fortunate right now that releasing press releases because it's real news every 2 to 4 weeks, and it's significant. So I imagine, I don't know if that's going to continue for a year, but certainly for the next 3-4 months, you're going to read a lot about new territories, licensing, large catalog deals that we will do. Other platforms, so OTT is big for us. The first thing to do is to get the web and to get the mobile applications. But we have our eyes firmly squared on the TV market with Sharp and Samsung, on the console market. Apple TV.
Have you done deals?
We have them in process right now. That's our next stage. We're not released on those platforms yet. But as we talk about where we go from here, that's exactly what we're going to focus on.
Right. And in terms of where would you like to be in about 1 year? I mean, the market is changing so quickly that it's very difficult to say in 5 years. But in about 1 year, where would you like to be?
Well, I think that certainly our catalogue will be a legitimate large library of high-value exclusive movies. I think that if we're doing where we think we're going to be in the 7 markets in a year, I think that's fantastic, because at that point we'll blow our forecast. I'll be very happy with 2.5 million accounts and filmmakers getting paid, actually getting proving our model and getting the statement of accounts out to them, because that's a different level of watershed. Right now we've got a lot of inquiries. We're signing a lot of movies. As this model wins, it doesn't just win for us or the industry, it wins for the consumer and the film rights owners.
An account is someone who has bought at least one movie, is that correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And where would you like to be in terms of consumer perception? In other words, somebody goes, for example, sits down, turns on their TV, and I think they can see that traditional TV, maybe they've got a connection with Netflix.
Right.
If they're in the US or UK, Amazon, there might be other players they can access, but where would you like to be?
Well, I think if people wake up in the morning and they're going to go home to their wife or their girlfriend, if they say, I wonder what's playing at Flix Premiere, or did you read about that movie, it's on at Flix Premiere, then I've won.
So you wouldn't...
But to me, that means that we've continued all this press, and we're delivering on our model, and we're in everyone's mind, and we're not just grabbing headlines with Netflix, but people see us as a credible choice. I think we can absolutely be there, because there's a world of great movies, and the thing is, every time you come to our platform, John, after the first week, you're going to see just new movies. Unless you're there every day, and we have a ticket bundle, PPV, you buy 5 for the price of 4. So it's the only customer loyalty program we have at the moment. But at the end of the day, unless you're watching every movie every week, it's like going to the movie theater, except you haven't got to share Star Wars on every screen. These are brand new movies, never been seen before. I think that choice, back to Harvey's point earlier, that wins out. That's our statement we're making. If we acquire great movies and people want to watch great movies, you're going to find them at Flix Premiere.
And that would imply that you would probably spend more on marketing than...
Sure.
Could you describe what kind of, for example, when you enter Germany, what kind of marketing will you do?
Yeah, so Germany is very different to, say, France and the UK. So they are, much like the Japanese market, incredibly detail-centric. So we're certainly the press getting credible critic reviews. So going through the whole press association is really important in Germany. You still need to do some advertising. Germany's a lot more social than people think, so it works for us to to do the digital social stuff with them. So in terms of our marketing plan, or our go-to-market, it doesn't change, but our PR and brand marketing will change for that market.
Right. And in terms of other countries, do you see the way that Flix Premiere will evolve? Is that culturally specific in some ways? For example, in Spain compared to France, compared to the UK, or?
I think the only thing that's different is that we will pick movies that we think will play really well in those markets. I think us as a company, the way we acquire movies, the way we're building our brand, the theatrical model that we won't compromise on and haven't compromised on, isn't going to change. But we will see different content in different ways. Because it's the way we're acquiring it. This business, worldwide rights, is dying. It's going to stay in the territory model. So I'm not sitting here saying I'm always going to buy a movie for every territory and be able to roll it out and it's going to do well in every territory. I have to think market by market. But mainstream, high-quality cinema is what we want to do. I cross out the word independent and blockbuster because I don't think they're relevant. Just we want to put on good movies, and often or not, they're great movies.
Right. I think it's 5 o'clock. We've done 1 hour. I'm sure that Martin could talk for another 2 hours, and in fact, the idea is that he will be available for you to meet him at the cocktail, which begins now. So that rather than asking a question here, you can ask a question straight to him directly. And thank you very much, Martin Moore.
Thank you. Thanks.